Welcome to Loudoun Now Sports Talk. I'm Kurt Asherman, your host. And today we have one of my favorite people in the world on this episode. One of the greatest basketball players in American history. And I'm not exaggerating here, and I'm not just talking about greatest female basketball players. Nancy Lieberman, who had the nickname of Lady Magic, one of the greatest basketball players the country's ever created. She was the two-time winner of Player of the Year in college. She's was the first female NBA coach. She's coaching now in the Big Three, Ice-T's league, Big Three. And she is a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame, an old friend who's done some amazing things after her playing career. And we're going to talk about those things. And this interview is so good, we're going to break it up into two parts. In the first segment, we're going to ask Nancy about her childhood growing up. It's an amazing story. A little girl from Brooklyn who used to take the train to Harlem to play at the Rucker tournament. Anyone who knows basketball knows what Rucker is. And then the second half, we'll talk about her career after she had, quote, begun to make it, starting with her relationship with Muhammad Ali, which is a great story, and taking her right up to the point now where she's coaching, as I say, in the Big Three. So let's get started. Here's episode 1 of our podcast, Loudoun Now Sports Talk, with Nancy Lieberman.
Hello and welcome to Loudoun Now Sports Talk. I'm Kurt Asherman. I'm your host. And this podcast explores sports from lots of different angles, locally here in Loudoun County, as well as more broadly than that. And today we're going to get outside of Loudoun County and spend some time with one of my favorite people, a legend in the game of basketball in the United States, Nancy Lieberman. Nancy, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you coming on the podcast.
It's my pleasure. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you. Talk to us a little bit first about your childhood, because you grew up in Brooklyn and you honed your basketball skills mostly against boys, is what I understand, and usually beat them, if I remember correctly. Tell us what it was like living in Brooklyn at that time.
Well, I was born in Brooklyn. About 2 years old, we moved to Queens, to Far Rockaway. And really, that's where I started playing football, baseball, basketball. And when you're a girl from the 60s and 70s, obviously people are like, Ms. Lieberman, what's wrong with your daughter? Why is she playing in the streets? She's a tomboy. Why is she doing this, that, and the other? And I couldn't understand why people were, saying that to me, because they didn't realize I needed sports more than sports needed me. My father left when I was 8. I remember my mom many times sitting in the kitchen in the corner by the window just crying because my dad never sent alimony, and they were turning off heats and the heat, the lights. There were days we had no food, and my grandparents would come from Brooklyn and bring us food. So, I looked at my mom at 8 or 9 years old, and I swear to God, I was like, I love my mom, but that's not gonna be me. That's not gonna be my story. And I just fell in love with sports because it allowed me to be free. It allowed me to compete and breathe. And I love the competitiveness. And so, again, football was my first sport. And, it's funny you say that. I say that because we went to a, like a 5 and dime store, like a Salvation Army. And there was a football lamp. It was a New York Jets lamp. And I look at my mom and I said, can I buy this lamp? And she asked the guy how much. He goes, you can have it for $1. And so she bought the lamp for me. So we got home and I took scissors and I cut all the wires and I unscrewed the wood base. the football coach for, like Pee Wee football said you could play, but you all have to have a helmet. So I take it, I put towels in the helmet, and then I took like duct tape. So I show up at practice with my Jets helmet. It was amazing. And the coach was like, I can't believe she's got a helmet. So I'm running back a kick, and I was pretty athletic even at, 8 years old.
Right.
And this guy put his helmet right in my stomach and knocked the air out of me. And I'm laying backwards, and it felt like forever, but it was like 2 or 3 minutes. I could hardly breathe. And I start to get up, and because my helmet hit so hard, it split the helmet and it was hanging, and the tape was here. Each side of the helmet was hanging. And now I got to go pick up my towels, okay? Because the towels got knocked out. So I pick up the towels, I get my stuff, I walk home about a block, and I knock on the door, and my mom looks at me, she goes, "What'd you do with the lamp?" It's a football helmet, and the helmet broke. And she goes, "Are you going to take it off your chin?" I don't know. And so I went in the room.
What was this? 8 years? This is 8 years old?
8 years old.
Yeah.
So I then moved into baseball. And I was the starting shortstop for this PAL team. And we go to play our first game, and I have my T-shirt on and my number 10.
I know the shirts. I can see it.
And the coach looks at me, it was at Beach 17th Street in Rockaway, and he looks at me. His name was Smitty. He had red hair, and he looks at me and he goes, "Nancy, come here." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "They're not going to let you play. They won't insure you because you're a girl." And I went, what's insure mean? What? I don't understand. He says, they will only insure the boys. I was devastated because I was the starting shortstop on this team. And 2 hours later, I'm going to be playing with the same guys on the same field, except without the T-shirts.
Wow.
So I remember going to the, like a few days later, there was this Gustav YMCA in my neighborhood. And I walked in, and there was, the glass, and I knocked on the glass where everybody was working, and the guy opened it. And I said, "I have a question. Do you have a boys league here?" And he goes, "Yes, we do." I said, "Will you let me play in the boys league? Because the PAL won't insure me. Will you insure me?" And my football helmet got broken, so I don't have a helmet to play in the football league. And he goes, "What's your name?" I said, "My name is Nancy." And he goes, "You can play here as much as you want. You can play on any team you want." And I started playing on the boys team at that YMCA. I wish I knew who that guy was so I could thank him.
Wow. 8 years old. So you were breaking barriers even then. Now, what's interesting about that story is you haven't mentioned basketball yet. So was that the third sport, or did you play them all at the same time, and basketball kind of emerged as the sport for you?
Well, baseball I played, baseball, softball. I mean, I could have played on our boys further down baseball team, but we had softball at Far Rockaway High School. But we were always playing flag football. We didn't have flags at the time, but two-hand touch.
Two-hand touch.
I loved it. Boy, I love football, baseball. So we were kind of seasonal athletes. And then, of course, basketball, I just loved the split-second decision-making. There was no time where, you didn't have to huddle up, where in baseball it was a little slower. In football, you had the huddles. And, that was the time of Willis Reed and Walt Frazier and Dr. J. And it was a great time to be a basketball fan.
Wow.
And I just kept playing at 10, 11, 12, just playing in the streets, and started going up at 12, 13 years old. I started going to Harlem and playing at Rucker Park.
I was going to ask you if it was Rucker, eventually Queens. How did they recruit you?
I can get there through Rucker Park. Okay.
Yeah.
So I started playing.
Right.
I would take 2 trains, the A train change in Grand Central Station, then take the E into 155th and get off, and then walk in the park. But I had like T-shirts in my jacket, so I looked bigger and menacing. I was like 120 pounds. And I would walk into Rucker, which is, the most famous, street park in the world.
Right.
And these guys look at me, and they're like, "Little girl, are you lost?" And I was like, "Are you?" And and they just looked at me. They said, "Do you know where you are?" I said, "Yeah, Rucker Park." And I looked at the guy and I said, "Is your name Rucker?" And he goes, "No." I said, "Good, it ain't your park. And I need to play. My mom don't know I'm here. My mom thinks I'm at the park in Far Rockaway." And they went, "You took the train from Far Rockaway?" I said, "Yeah, my mom thinks I'm at the park across the street from my house. but I know you guys are good and I really need to be good. Can you help me?
Holy cow.
And they just took me under their wings, and like there was no cell phones, no texting, none of that stuff. I would say, I'm going to be on the 5:17 train, and they would meet me and then walk me into the park. And then Ronald, Donald, and Gary, after we played, they would take the train, the three of them, back to Far Rockaway with me to make sure that I was okay. And I'd walk in the house, and my mom would be looking at me, glaring. Where were you? You weren't at the park. I said, I was at the park. I was at Rucker Park in Harlem. And she said, what were you doing in Harlem? Do you know how dangerous it is? I said, yeah, but I wasn't going to hurt anybody. I just wanted to play basketball. And I'm like, Mom, this is Donald, Ronald, and Gary. And Mom, they're hungry. Can you make some spaghetti? And she was like, how do you know each other? I said, Mom, we won 3 games together in the park. These are my friends. So I was teaching her not to profile people and be racist. And they were so sweet to her. And, you know, then they would get on the train and go back. So they toughened me up at Rucker. And then there's a, in the Long Island Press, there was just a little thing that says, this is 1974. It says USA women playing a 3-game exhibition against Russia. And I was like, I never knew there was a USA team because we were never in the Olympics before, women.
Oh, that's right.
So we had, it was like, Kurt, it was like America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
There was Queens College. They had 4 places around the country, and it was just open to anybody.
Open tryouts.
So I said, open tryouts.
Right.
One of my teammates from, I played AAU at St. Francis de Sales, and we piled into Marianne Aida's daddy's car, and we went to Queens College. They slapped on a number, and from 10 in the morning until 7 at night, there were 250 girls. And I was like, oh my gosh, everybody says there's something wrong with me. And there's other women here. Like, these are the things.
Oh, it was like a light bulb. You all realized you weren't alone. Yeah.
Caitlin didn't have to wait. Angel doesn't have to deal with that because it's okay. And I remember looking around and like just thinking there's nothing wrong with me. And so I was so young because I was only, 14, 15 years old at the time. And I go to the tryouts. At the end of the day, they kept making cuts, posting your number. My number's always up on the, 6, 7 times. At the end of the night, there were 20 players. They scrimmaged 10 on 10, 5 on 5. And at the end, they picked 10 players that was going to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Okay. And that way you could go to this pre-camp for 3 days. So 40 women were at this pre-camp. So my number at the end is there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Mom. So I call my mom. Mom, you're not going to believe this. I made this USA tryout. I'm going to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And she goes like, hell you are. I said, what do you mean? She goes, Nancy, I can't put food on the table. How am I going to get you to Albuquerque? I'm like, I don't know, but I feel like you hold me back because I'm supposed to be on the USA team. And she's like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know who you are. Yeah. So Mr. Aida, we come back. He explains what happened. So my high school assistant principal, Barbara Sakowitz, gets a can of corn, cleans it, puts a wrapper on the outside, an envelope, tapes it up, and says, we're endeavoring to raise $300 to send Nancy to the USA tryouts. It went door to door in Far Rockaway, and they raised enough money, I think like $300, $400 to send me and my high school coach to Albuquerque. 3 days of going through, like, bawling all day. They picked 10 of the women to go in with the best of the best, the Pat Summits, the Ann Myers, the national team group. And so I was one of the 10. And like I said, I was only maybe 15. And all these were college All-Americans. It was players who graduated, played AAU for years. And I get through the first day, and then the second day I got hit in my ribs, so my ribs are broken. Berta Cox, coach of the team, and one of the managers drives me to the airport in Albuquerque. And I'm in the back, and she looks at me and she goes, "Now, Nancy, you work hard because we're going to need you in 1980. And I looked at her and I said, "Yo, coach, like, I'm not very smart, but I know 76 comes before 80, and I'm going to be on that 76 team. So once I get healthy, you better,
Save a
you
spot.
better
Save a spot.
get right with me." And she was like, "How can she say that?" I said, "You just need to get used to me because I'm going to be on this team in 76. So long story short, I went home, I trained, I played against guys my whole life.
Right.
I tried out the next year for the 1975 Pan American Games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 16 years old. I make the Pan Am team. I'm youngest ever. We win the gold medal at the Pan Ams. I mean, you've seen it, bend over the medal.
Medal over the neck.
Coolest thing you could ever do if you're an athlete, and hear the anthem and see the band, the flag coming down. If that doesn't move you, you don't have a pulse.
Mm-hmm.
I will always have my hand over my heart for the United States of America. I will always stand for the anthem and respect it. I don't care what anybody else does.
Right.
Then I make the 76 Olympic team. I'm 17 years old.
Where was 76 played? I don't remember.
Montreal.
Oh, yeah.
But the cool thing, it was the first time ever in the history of the Olympics that they had women's basketball.
Oh.
So to be on that inaugural team and then us winning the silver medal. Now you want to know how I got recruited to Old Dominion?
Yes.
At the Pan Am tryouts and the Olympic tryouts, all college coaches were watching.
Coaches were all there watching the players. Sure.
So I was the shiny penny because I was the only one who was in high school. I was a senior in high school. My senior year and a junior year, I was a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
A junior in high school. And so everybody was like, "Nancy, Nancy, Nancy," because they wanted me. So I had over 100 scholarship offers and I couldn't afford to go to college. And so all these people were recruiting me. My little head was spinning. And I finally was with my mom. And it's not like you can get on, Chat GPT and go, "Hey, what college can I go to?" Or be about Norfolk, Virginia. So I decided that I was going to go to the school that was the worst. So Old Dominion was not a very good team, but they were close enough in Norfolk, Virginia, where I could drive, and if I got scared or whatever, I could come home. If I had gone to where I wanted to go, Cal State Fullerton, where my Olympic coach Billy Moore coached, what happens if I go there and since she leaves? I don't even know how I'm getting home. Sure. Well, ironically, she did. She went to UCLA to coach with John. It was her and John Wooden at UCLA.
Right.
So I went to Old Dominion, and there were 7 freshmen, and we had a little pinky swear in the locker room. I said, "I'm taking Debbie Richards' job." Another person said, "I'm taking Yvette Baggett's job." Another person says, "I'm taking Wendy Larry's job." All the freshmen. Whose job are we taking? But every drill, every practice, every day, we have got to remember our goal. They weren't good enough. So our job is to take their job. And we look back at it, people are like, you were so mean. No, it wasn't. We wanted to win.
Right. You know what's interesting here, Nancy, is this story is fascinating because much of this podcast has been dealing with things like high school athletes and travel team athletes. And each of the people that come on help us with something to teach young athletes about. You overcame the prejudice, helped your mother overcome the prejudice. That was something that had to be completely unique. You showed how determination can result in success going down the pipe. And you also showed that the barriers we put around people, "Oh, she's a girl," or "Oh, he's Hispanic," or those barriers are easily broken down, and sports helps us do that. And it obviously did in your career. I mean, at ODU, my records indicate you guys were 72-2 while you were there.
No, we were 125 and 15 in 4 years. We were
Okay.
23-9 my first year, 30-4, 37-1, 35-1. We won back-to-back national championships, and my sophomore year we won the NIT, and we just felt it. I mean, we were women's basketball before Tennessee, South Carolina, Connecticut, Stanford. We were selling out every night. We go into people's gyms, and it was the largest attendance that they ever had, and we were covered so much by the national media, which was Dick Schaap and ABC. They were always coming down to visit us, which we just had so many great young players. Inga Nissen was 6'5". Jan Tremblay. We had, and then my senior year we had Ann Donovan. She came, so it was 6'8", 6'5", 6'1". Angela Kottman was 5'7", 5'8". I was 5'10", point guard, kind of like Magic.
Who gave you the name Lady Magic?
Virginian pilot. They used to call me Fire because of my red hair in New York at Rucker, and then Magic and Michigan State come down. I think it was my junior year, and they, he was doing what Magic does, and they were in the Optimist Classic for the men, and the Virginia pilot said, "Well, people were just marveling over Magic," and then the writer goes, "He's amazing, but we've seen this for 3 years. If he's Magic, she must be Lady Magic."
That's a great story.
And that's how I ended up getting the name Lady Magic. And Irvin and I have known each other for years, and it's been kind of fun. But and then there was really one pro league, the first women's league ever, the WBL. And so I get drafted. I get drafted by the Dallas Diamonds with the first pick. I don't know. So I didn't have to get here till August. So I'm at my house, and I'm playing in a summer league at Xavier High School on, I think it was 13th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlie Chris and a bunch of other NBA guys. And Jane Pauley, who was, doing the morning show. Somebody says there's a girl playing with all these NBA guys. So she comes down. And I had interviewed with her when we played in Madison Square Garden my senior year. So she comes down, does a story about, me playing against these guys. And by the grace of God in California, Jerry West and Dr. Buss are watching the morning show. And Dr. Buss says, "Get her here." And Jerry goes, "What?" "Get her here. We want her to play summer league for us." So think about that. Was this man not ahead of his time for equality?
Jerry West, by the way, that was my guy. Jerry West was my guy. Number 44.
It was crazy. But so I fly out. Jerry West calls me at my mom's house in Far Rockaway, and I'm like, "Yo, who's this?" And he goes, "My name's Jerry West."
Who's this?
And I'm like, you beat I wasn't really a fan of yours because, you hit that half-court shot over Willis Reed in the Garden, and it made the game go to overtime. And I thought we were going to lose, but you lost. And he goes, "Is this Nancy?" I go, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I know you called me. What happened?" And I squirreled on him. And he says, "Well, the Lakers would like you to come and play summer league with us." I said, "When do you want me to come to Los Angeles?" He goes, "Can you come tomorrow?"
Tomorrow. I had a feeling it was going to be tomorrow or the day after. Yeah.
So he says, "This is going to be fantastic. We have a new coach. He used to do TV for us. His name is Pat Riley. And this is going to be fantastic for everybody." And I was like, "Thank you." I fly out there, and the trainer, Jack Curran, he kind of flips me this Laker purple bag. He wasn't happy to see me either. And he was kind of gruff. And I said, "Sir, where do I change?" And he goes, "You change in there." I said, "Isn't that where the guys are?" And he goes, "You change in there." So I'm like, okay, I have a brother. I'm gonna go in the locker room. If you're naked, you're naked. If you're not, you're not. And so I found a place in the back of the locker room, and I open up the purple mesh bag, and there's my jersey and my shorts and tube socks. And then, funny guy, he put a jock strap in my bag. So I turn around and I look at him and I go, "Yo, Jack." And everybody in the locker room turns around. And I go, "If you want me to practice today, I need something bigger. This thing's too small." And I just kind of flung it. So you can cry or, right, do it to them before they do it to you. Kind of
Unbelievable.
like the t-shirts and the jacket, right? Looking big. So I didn't realize that they told Pat the day before Nancy Lieberman, "I don't want Nancy Lieberman here." I told the guys working out yesterday when they were stretching against the wall, this was going to be serious. And now you're giving me a girl? He says, "I don't want her." And Dr. Buss goes, "Yeah, good. She'll be here tomorrow." Introduce her to her teammates. And so I show up for a legendary 3-hour practice with Pat Riley. And he would go, you line up on the baseline. He'd go, "I need 5 guys on the court." I ran right on the court. 4 other guys came behind me. And the coaches they didn't know what to do. So I'd run his offense. I'd make mistakes. They coach me up. I'd get repetition. When I felt like I understood the cadence of what he wanted,
Mm-hmm.
I'd walk off the court with my 4 guys, and the next group was coming on, and I'd look at the guy and go, "If you don't know how to run that, I do. I'd be happy to help you." And everybody would kind of like, "You got to be kidding me." So I was setting the tone. Then it was so physical. They beat the crap out of me for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And so here's what I didn't know until later. I found out that Pat Riley was making hundreds of thousands of dollars on my story. And he would tell people that I changed his life. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So they're in the coach's room after, and they say, "Well, Pat, practice was great." And they go, he goes, "What am I going to do with her? She comes in first. I call 5 guys on the court. She runs on the court, They beat the crap out of her, and she tried to start 2 fist fights. What am I supposed to do with her?" And they said, "Great, play her." So he started playing me more. And as it turns out, he would tell people she was the only one who could run, my shit. And so I'm with him. This is crazy stuff. We're at, all these years later, 2014, I'm at the NBA Coaches Symposium at the Clippers facility, and I'm sitting next to Nick Nurse, and who is coaching in Philly now.
Mm-hmm.
But Nick and I coached in the G League together
Mm-hmm.
in 2011 against each other. And so Doc Rivers is one of the speakers. There's like 200 assistant coaches, head coaches, GMs. And it's a 2-day deal. Tony La Russa was speaking to us also. And Doc was speaking, Pat was speaking, and Phil Jackson was speaking. So he starts talking, and I'm doing this, and he goes, "Something in life, sometimes you just don't know who's going to change your life." And I'm like locked in. I'm in the front row. He goes, "Well, something happened early in my career. I had just gotten the coaching job."
He told
And
the story.
Dr. Buck, and he tells the story, and Nick Nurse goes, "You played for him?" And I said, "Nick, could you stop talking while he's talking about me, please?" And I have the video, by the way. And he says the whole story that I told you. And he goes, "In my mind's eye, she was not my point guard, but she taught me something about tenacity and how to come to work." He says, "There were days that I was in the huddle coaching the Lakers, being a young coach, or when I was coaching the Knicks, and I was nervous, and maybe somebody had more experience." And he goes, "I used to think about you, Nancy." And I'm like, "Me?" He says every day they were bigger, they were stronger, they were more physical, they could jump higher, run faster, and you came in every day like you were the best player in the building. And I was like, I wasn't? No? And so, little humor, a little sarcasm, a lot of truth. And he said, I sometimes felt overwhelmed. And then I used to think about you. And I was, your heart and your mind and your desire, given the odds against you. And I was actually choked up that he would say that.
I can't see why you wouldn't. I mean, I can't imagine being able to sit there or hear that.